Hello, happy Sunday. Happy Sunday. Welcome to Pop-Up Sundays with Crystal. Come on in the room. Please like, tag, and share. Please like, tag, and share as you guys come on in the room on today. How are you guys doing today? I pray that you got out and got you some word, whether you stayed in or whether you went out and got you some word. I just pray that you got you some word on today, because listen, what we need today is a word from the Lord. And just one word from the Lord will change our entire lives, right? And so it is such a blessing to be able to come on with you all on today. Please, again, like, tag, and share this information. I would like to say from the beginning, I do not own the copyrights to the music that will be playing in the background. And also, I would also like to let you guys know that all three of my books are still available for ordering. Please, if you guys know a widow that you can bless with this 31-day journal, let me tell you something. This 31-day journal, God's Love for the Grieving Widow, is a 31-day prayer journal, letting you know how important you are to God. And I'm telling you, I learned this on this journey that I'm on this journey of being a widow. And I realized how many benefits that I have being a widow, being on this forced, unwanted journey. Nevertheless, I'm so thankful that God holds a special place in his heart for me and for you all that may be experiencing this widow life. And so even to the brothers that's out there, my widower brothers out there, I shout out to you guys for your endurance and for your pushing forward, right? So the second book that I have still available can be ordered through me or Amazon. Again, God's Love for the Grieving Widow is a journal for widows. And so my second book is There is Beauty in My Brokenness. It's my story of my late husband and myself, where our love story began until death did us part. And again, that is There is Beauty in My Brokenness. My third book, I have ran out of copies, but my third book is No Man Plans to Fail, but Many Fail to Plan. Divine Direction and Connection. And that book is about me going through the process of going through probate, being faced before a lawyer several times with him telling me, why should I grant you the home? And so that was very hurtful for me. But I have realized that this is the journey that God has me on now to speak to his people. God is a God of order. And so just because we have certain things in order, and we may think that that it's not important for us to have our house in order, for us not to. He says, a good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children. So that means that in order for you to be a good man, you are to leave an inheritance to your children's children. And God has even an inheritance for us. He has promised us an inheritance of eternal life, right? So he has set us up where we will be taken care of when we inherit that inheritance that he has for us. Then what more should we do for our children, for our loved ones, instead of leaving them with debt and death, and, unprepared. So I just wanted to come on today to tell you guys, thank you for coming on. Please like, tag, and share. And remember, if you have all of your things in place and in order, that's good. But go ahead and share the information with other people about getting their affairs in order and getting their affairs in place. So today, I had a young lady come up to me and tell me, hey, Miss Crystal, guess what? I had my boss go ahead and get her trust done. I had my boss go to the lawyer that we used. And I told her, I said, that just brings so much joy and life and strength to me, knowing that somebody else has gotten their affairs in order. And she said, as soon as she got it done, she let me know. And she said, I couldn't wait to see you to let you know today that my boss, the person that is over me, has gotten their revocable living trust in place. And so I went to have this other conversation with her as we were talking. And I was telling her that, a lot of my members at my church has our military background. And so as I was speaking to another widow, and she was saying, well, you know what? I think I can go to the base. I think I would be able to go there and get my trust done. So she explained to me today, no, what they did for you is a will. And so there are, I believe, about 9 states that are community property states. And I am in California. So we are a community property state. And so what that means is that things are split, in 50-50. One person does not own everything that, if you're a married couple or if you're on the deed with someone else, then when you find yourself in probate, they will keep breaking the money down to the people that they're supposed to go to according to the law. And so you want to avoid that at all costs so that you won't have to be faced with, having to go through probate. You want to avoid probate at all costs because you never know what you're going to be opening up if you find yourself in that place where you open up that probate. And so as she was telling me that, I was thinking, okay, well, this is one thing that a lot of people are misled in that sometimes lawyers will tell you you need a will and you need a will only. And so with having that will and that will only, you will find yourself in probate if you own property. And so if you have businesses, you own property and different things like that, it's essential that you have these things in place so that you would avoid probate, because once you open probate, you open up your entire life to the public. And so what happens is there are people that are actually, their job is to go through and see who all is in a probate. So every day during the week, they're looking to see, hey, where can we get some money from? And so if you're a person that may have a lot of debt or your spouse may have a lot of debt, you want to make sure that you cover yourself from going to probate, because if you lose your loved one and that loved one had debt, then and you're in a community property state, it's a possibility that you can find yourself in probate. And not only that, you would have to pay that spouse's debt. When you if you have to sell the house or something like that, you will find yourself losing a lot of money. And so if you find yourself in probate, probate is a $2 billion a year industry for California. And so that lets you know how many people are faced going through probate, and which this could all be avoided. So make sure that you look into it, look into what the laws are in your state. Some places that are not community properties does not, require for you to have the whole package. But this is the thing. If you find yourself in a home, a convalescent home, or a retirement home, not a retirement home, but a convalescent home, or a home that's maybe like a rehabilitation center or something like that, and you run out of your money. And so all you have now is you have to get on Medicare or Medicaid. And so what happens is they have this law that's called Medicare recovery. And so what Medicare recovery is that when you're in a home like that and you may run out of your money after 100 days that you have been there, and you're thinking, okay, I'm going to leave my kids my home, and you pass away in there. And when you pass away in there, then Medicare can come back to recover their money, and they can possibly have your children sell the home that you intended for your children to have, and they can, to get their portion of the money back. Again, Medicare is a loan without interest. And so because we never know where we may find ourselves at the end of this life, but to prepare, to avoid going through probate, where they have the option where they can go ahead and get their money. They can pull that Medicare recovery on you. So you want to cover yourself. It doesn't cover you, but say all of it. But if you avoid that probate, then you will be able to avoid that Medicare recovery. So the main purpose of you having your trust, or your irrevocable trust, your revocable trust, is because you want to avoid the things that will come up in probate. And so, in saying that, I was speaking to another young lady last week, and she was telling me that she wanted to do the revocable one, the irrevocable, because she felt like, when you apply to get into these homes and stuff, you can't have really much, right? You can't have a house and different things like that. They kind of want you to draw down the monies before they actually help you. And so the only thing about that is you really have to educate yourself on the difference between the irrevocable and the revocable. And so I liked it, the revocable living trust, because I'm in full control of my trust. As long as I'm alive and as long as I'm not incapacitated, I am in control of it. And so I can make the changes anytime I want to. And I like the fact that I am in control of it. And so it's very important that you go ahead, get these things in place. And because there's been a lot of like ugly stuff happening that I've been hearing about. I've been hearing about, blended marriages, that as a blended marriage and the spouse coming into that blended family. And so say, for instance, that husband passes away and you've moved into the house, and there have been people that have had to move because guess what? Their children are saying, hey, that was my dad's house. Hey, that was my mom's house. So it's very important that you have the conversations, have the hard conversations, and lay it out, whether you have to sign a prenup or whatever you have to sign. But you don't want to have yourself in the position where their children can put you out of the house. Say if you move in the house, because that's their inheritance, right? And so what happens to you if you don't prepare, if you don't make sure that you guys have a significant amount of insurance? Because guess what? You have to continue living. That loved one still has to continue living, and whether they have a work check, whether they have a retirement check, at the same time, you need to cover yourself, because that is going to be a loss. That part is a loss. So I always say this. I have been saying that over the last, it's been 4 years for me, that when I am on with my widow sisters and brothers on our Friday night Zoom, I'm always telling them that it's Coretta Scott King for me. And so as I was working this past week, I worked really, really hard. And so, I mean, I was so tired and I was like, I don't have the stamina as I used to have before. And so I was just thinking to myself, and I was like, I cannot be working this hard to have to, to be able to pay this car note, to be able to pay this mortgage. And I was like, this is just for the birds. So I always say to my sisters that it's Coretta Scott King for me because I had no interest in getting married again. And so as I worked so hard this past week, I found myself saying, oh my God, I can listen, I am used to being taken care of, right? And so because I am used to being taken care of, and I don't have that, my physical husband here any longer, I said, oh my God, I'm going to have to get remarried because, listen, this is just too much for me, right? And so once I made it through and everything, and had been complaining about how hard I had worked, I missed the whole 24 hours. I worked from 3 p.m. to 4 a.m. And so I really had to work day and night. And I thank you guys for making those orders. And I just appreciate you guys so much because it's not just the fact that you guys made the orders, but you guys allowed me to make your desserts for you, to do those things for you. And that had caused me to be able to pay my car note and to pay the rest of my mortgage. And so I thank you guys. Don't take it lightly that, oh, I'm just paying for something because I didn't want to bake it. But you guys truly blessed me. And I thank God for you guys. And I ask that God give you guys 100-fold return in this lifetime because I don't take it lightly when people purchase things from me. It is truly a blessing to me. And I want you guys to know that you guys were truly a blessing to me, no matter how tired I was, because I'm going to give it my all in all. And so in saying that, then after I got a couple of rest, a couple of days, and then I said, okay, I changed my mind, no. And then, but it brought this to my attention. And as my bishop was speaking today, he had been speaking on, your foundation, standing on the rock of God. And so some of you may know, some of you may not know that how my faith had been shaken. I was not as anchored as I thought I was when I lost my husband. And where I had my husband at is at a standard of above God, right? And so I feel like I spoke and I said that God was the head of my life, that he was the head of our household. And then when I lost my husband, I felt like that my husband was all of that to me. He was the head of my life. He was my protector. He was my provider. And so I had to put things in perspective, the right perspective, after actually experiencing it. And so it made me think back to, okay, Crystal, now you're saying, okay, listen, I might need to get married again because I need somebody to take care of me. And it quickened in my spirit that there you go again, not trusting God to take care of you. Haven't I taken care of you? Haven't I provided for you? Haven't I been your husband as the word of God says? And he's been all of that to me. I have not missed a house note, a car note, and my pantry is full. Last year, I got a basket. This year, I didn't get a basket this year. So I'm so thankful and grateful that God has been faithful to me. And so, and saying that is, I'm always trying to take back. I have to reel myself back in to saying, hey, Crystal, you threw that wand too far out there. And you threw that fishing rod too far out because I'm always trying to help God. I'm trying to figure him out. I'm trying to say, God, you're taking too long. I don't see this. And so because I don't see this, I don't see some of the things that you have said. Just like my bishop was saying today, like your bank account may be saying something different than what your faith is saying, right? Your faith in God, your trust in God. And God, He is sometimes you can't even have a word for him. He's all of that. And so he'll have you, I don't know if it's the test, I don't know what it is, but you'll be worried. And for what? He has carried me. I am 60 years old. He has been faithful to me every time. So I don't know why I even, take myself through some of the things that I take myself through instead of saying, you know what, God, you have me. So as I was speaking to one of my friends today at lunch, I just asked her, I said, you're a little older than me. And so I want to know this. How is your faith in God when it comes down to challenging hard things? This is something that I'm sure I would ask my mom as well, because she's 89 years old. So I think what happens is the longer you live, the more experiences you have in trusting God and seeing how God continues to come through for you. And so as I start, sometime I will take that fishing rod and I throw it way out there some years from now, and I'm trying to calculate how much time do I have, how old am I going to be, what is my strength going to be, am I going to be able to continue to pay my house note when my income does not meet my house note. And so I have to sit back and say, wait a minute, hold on. Let me look at this in a different light. Has he did it for you so many times, even when we moved and when we moved in the house, when you think about it, you guys, when you find yourself being challenged or your faith being challenged, you have to go back and check his record. Check his record of all the things, all the times he's been faithful and he's did it. Sometimes it's like right on time. It's like right before, but you've worried this whole 30 days and then boom, it just happens. That's just how he does things. I don't know what that is. And so, as my bishop was teaching today, which was such an excellent teaching on having faith and believing God and standing, on the promises of God. What does God say about this? No matter what you see happening in the world, because I can get really consumed into watching the news, or even if it's not the news, it's information that's kind of letting you know what's going on. So you're kind of like, well, wait a minute, how is this happening? Like, how are these people able to cause this much confusion and wreckage? And so as he was talking about the things that are true, and how when you're watching TV and you're watching and you're getting information in, how you that information that you're getting in, that information that you're listening to is what you tend to believe. And so that's why there's administrations that are saying things that are different to make you think that that is true, and it's not the truth. At the same time, you have to get in the Word of God so you will know what truth is. So when they tell you the lies, you'll know within your spirit, hey, something is not quite right with that. So, and when you look at your situations sometime, when I look at the fact that I don't have my husband here any longer, that income is no longer here. It's truth. That's true that he is no longer here. At the same time, the truth is that God said, I will be your provider. I will be that, I will be with you. I will never leave you and I'll never forsake you. And sometimes we kind of put God in the place of man. And so when man has treated us wrong, when man has dogged us out or did bad things to us, then we put God in that same box to say, hey, I don't trust you because this person did me like this or that person did me like that. And so we cannot put God in that box. He says, my thoughts are higher than yours. Like we can't even think how he thinks. And so back to the faith, I just was like, God, I don't know what's wrong with us sometimes that we don't wholeheartedly trust you to do what you say you're going to do. We're in hopes that it's going to happen. And sometimes God tells us things and we have to wait for the right people to be in place to get you where you're supposed to be. And so he has told me and shared some things with me. And I had been feeling like, well, God, I thought this was going to happen, or I thought that was going to happen, or, I thought I was going to have more speaking engagements. I thought this door was going to open for me and that door was going to open for me. And so I've been trying to figure him out again. Like, God, how am I going to do this? How am I going to get the things that I need to get done when we don't even know if we're going to be here? So we consume ourselves with so many things, and we don't even know if we're going to be here. So why worry yourself? And, it could be for nothing. It could be a false worry. And so I appreciate him re-saying that, what he said today, my bishop, and re-saying, hey, you know what? We have to have faith. We have to trust God and believe what God says and not what man is saying. And so that was a refresher for me, even though I still sometimes struggle, and say, this is hard. But at the same time, I'm just going to exercise my faith. I'm going to exercise my faith because he has been so faithful to me. And he has not let me down. He has been true to his word. And so that's why, I don't know how I got down that line. But yeah, maybe it will help somebody else. Maybe somebody else may be struggling with their faith in God. I didn't want to hear a scripture. I didn't want to hear anything about God. Every scripture, I had a rebuttal to it because I was trying to figure out, like, how are you going to give me the desires of my heart when the desires of my heart is for my husband to be here? And so it was, that everybody was praying, and guess what? God said something different. And so it's a hard place when you're praying and when you're serving God and when you're living your life according to the word of God to the best of your ability, even though he says your works are like filthy rags. But at the same time, you're trying your best. And when God says something different. And so because we are Christians does not mean that we're not faced with the same things that people that are not Christians. And so I kind of had this in my mind that because I was a Christian, because we, the way I lived my life, that God would honor those prayers that I did for my husband still be here, for my loved ones that passed, and we were praying so hard. And so again, we cannot put God in the same box as man is in, and feel like there's anything wrong that you've done because that person didn't make it, and then the next person may make it. So a lot of times we start doing competitions on, well, you know what, this person is not a good person, and that person is still living, and then this person is, was a very good person, and they died. And so, because we never know, God says that he knew us when we were in our mother's womb, and so he knows our date. And no matter what, we cannot stop. Um, we cannot stop our death date. So he knows our date when we're coming here, and he knows our date when we're leaving here. And so nothing catches him by surprise. He already knows it all. He allows us to have the things while we're here on earth. He allows us to have the spouses, the children, the different things like that. Those are blessings that God just kissed upon us to allow us to have while we're here. But it does not mean because we serve God that we won't experience death, that death won't hit your household. So you may be kind of like me. I just was like, okay, well, I thought we had at least 7 to 70 years plus. And so I just now rest in the fact that we were married for 34 years and that we have 3 children and we have 7 granddaughters now. And I just am thankful and grateful that the gift that I had and that I have with my children, I put it at a gratitude of thankfulness and gratefulness that he entrusted me to have that. And so sometimes we try to figure out what could we have done to have that loved one to still be here. We go back over and over and over in our minds of what we could have did different. And so I was talking to a friend, and she was telling me about a movie. I think it was The Timeline or something. And this guy was trying to change. Every time he tried to change what happened to his wife, no matter what, she still died that day. And so he tried to go back in time and say, hey, okay, let's do this walk in the park. And during the walk in the park, she got killed. And then there was another time he's like, okay, let's go to the car, let's take a ride somewhere. And I think she may have gotten killed. So she kept getting killed that same day. So that just lets us know that it is nothing that we can do when it's our death date. Each one of us is appointed once to die. And so we all have a date, and we don't know what that date is. We don't know when death will happen to our house. We do not know. We all will experience the vicissitudes of life. And so because of that, that's why it's so important that we get our affairs in order, because we just don't ever know. I was talking to a friend, and she was telling me that they were laying a young lady to rest on yesterday that I believe was 41 years old. And so I just keep hearing this, every week I'm hearing about a different death. So let us not take one another for granted. Let us not take our spouses, our parents for granted. As I spoke to, a couple of people, we all are kind of singing the same song about our children and how we are feeling somewhat neglected, somewhat forgotten about. And we were saying to one another, they don't realize we're not going to always be here. And so it is important that you take time out with your family. It's important that you continue to make great memories. It's important that you be forgiving, because in order for God to forgive you for your things that you've done against people, you have to be forgiving. And so don't just hold that. Allow that. As I was coming home, I was thinking to myself, I said, you know what? I bet you a lot of people don't even know why they are mad with one another or why they stop speaking to one another. And I was watching last week that Oprah had a new something on, and they were talking about family members cutting off their family members. And they were justifying it to themselves that it's okay. Nope, I don't want to talk to you, mom. No, I don't want to talk to you, to the children. Like the parents, you know, ostracize themselves from their parents and from their children. And I just thought to myself, how sad. How sad is that you can actually hold something against someone for 10, 20 years and you don't even know why. And if you do know why, is it worth it? Is it worth it to say, you know what, I'm going to act like you're not even on this earth any longer because I was offended by you? Come on, you guys, we got to wake up. Life is too short for you all to be having that, you know, anger towards one another. Am I justifying when someone does somebody wrong that should be held accountable? No, I'm not. But at the same time, who are you? That you are the person to say, hey, I'm never speaking to this person no more. I'm not speaking to that person. They have, you know, parents that have not spoken to their children in over 10, 20, 30 years. You have siblings that have not spoken to one another. And for what? For what? Just for instance, if you are fighting over your houses, your, you know, cars and different things like that, that your parents inherited, that your parents had, you know, worked so hard for. And then you guys turn around and leave them where they're not secure enough to not have to go to the courts and fight. Do you guys know how many people I've seen coming in there, family members fighting one another because this was not in place, because they didn't have their trust in place? Listen, at the end of the day, they possibly can walk away with nothing because the courts has taken everything away from your loved ones who you intended on. You're going to work hard for what? To give the state all of what you've worked so hard for? Come on, you guys. We have to get together and get a plan where we can go ahead and start moving forward. I do have information on getting your trust done, doing it yourself. I do have information on getting a lawyer to get it done in the state of California, in this high desert area. And so, listen, start looking into getting it done. It's to me, it's not even worth going out shopping and doing different things for Christmas. This will be a wonderful Christmas gift to you and your family. And because we just never know, and if you had yours done and you're not for sure, if, you know, this is something else I was thinking about. Some of us have family members and know people that are compromised right now. And if you have a loved one that you know is compromised, might be faced with, you don't know how long they're going to be with us, or you don't know if they have become incapacitated, if they have gotten dementia or Alzheimer's or something. If you see something happening to your loved one or a friend of yours that is close to you, make sure that you have them start moving towards getting some of those things in place and done, because once they become incapacitated, where the doctors say that they're incapacitated, then there's nothing you're going to be able to do. So say, for instance, if you have a trust already and your trust is in place, but there may be some things that you want to change around, some people have passed away, or you may not be speaking to the child, or maybe the kids ain't acting like you want them to act, and you may be changing your mind about how you want to, how you want the money to be split. Well, listen, you have to do that before the person becomes fully incapacitated. If the doctors say that the persons are incapacitated, then you cannot go back and change anything at the bank. You can't go back and change the trust. You can't do the trust after they have become incapacitated and you guys, both of your names are on the house. You're not going to be able to get it done. So you want to make sure that you get these things in place. You may be someone that is in your parents' home and you see a decline and you know that, hey, I better make sure that this is, everything, the paperwork is in order before it is actually put down. And because we never know, you can have a stroke, you can have a heart attack, and you can become incapacitated. You can fall, bump your head, you could be in a car accident. There's so many things that you can become incapacitated that we don't never expect. People that have happened to, they didn't expect it. When my dad had a heart attack, he wasn't expecting to have no heart attack. So because we don't know, that's why it's so important that we get things in place and make sure that you get your power of attorney. Do your power of attorney. For those of you that may have an apartment, live in an apartment, you have a job, you have a car, different things like that. Because if you become incapacitated and you need your loved one to be able to go to the bank to continue to pay your bills, you may be living with someone else. And say, for instance, that person becomes incapacitated, and that person, you need their portion of their check to pay your rent or your house note. Well, you're not going to be able to do it. You're going to find yourself going through probate while you're alive. And so a lot of times people get it a little confused because they say, well, you know what, I have beneficiaries on everything. And you guys know, some of you may be new on here and some of you may not be. But because I had and still going through so many different things that my husband had that did not have beneficiaries on there, it's just been hard. It's been hard. It's been hard to have to go back over different things. At the same time, a blessing, but hard to have to keep going back and getting the affidavit. And then they don't tell you about the small claims affidavit. So in California, you have to check your state and find out if your state has this. And it's a small affidavit that you of collections that you can do. So California, anything 166,000 and under, you can do that small claims probate to get that loved one's bank money from the bank and different things like that. But they're going to tell you that you need to open up a probate. And so there are things that you can kind of go around. And some things you do have to go to probate. If it's the home, if it's a boat, if it's a car, you will find yourself having to go to probate. And so even with having a will and a will only, you will find yourself opening up a probate. If you're in Maryland, I believe if you have the will and you have both of your names are on there and your deed says joint tenant with survivalship, then they will, I think theirs is like 100, I think it's 50,000. I'm not for sure, you guys, but check your state to see, because there may be some of you that have lost your loved one and you walked away from the bank account because you didn't know what they were telling you, what they were asking you for. I kept saying, I'm the person in charge of the estate. I was married to this man for 34 years. Why do you keep asking me the same questions over and over again? When I had a Caucasian lady tell me, hey, this is what they're looking for. They're not going to tell you about it, but this is what they're looking for. And so you need to fill this paper out in order to be able to get the money from the bank. Because, if you have several accounts, then you want to make sure that you have your beneficiaries or your your TODs, your PODs is paid upon death. And so that way that, for your bank accounts and stuff, don't assume. Some of us have had bank accounts for forever, right? And so we assume that we had beneficiaries on there. Go to your bank and make sure that you have the right person that you want to be your beneficiary on your accounts. Make sure, go back and check that. Make sure that you go back and check your CD accounts, your safe deposit box accounts, to make sure that they are a beneficiary on there, because otherwise there's a possibility that they keep the funds. So that is very important. Until you can get some of these things done, have the hard conversations with your loved ones, whether it be your spouse, whether it be your children. Have the hard conversation and let them know what are the instructions. If you do have these things, what are the instructions? Does the spouse still knows what to do? If that spouse is not the one that pays the bills, do that other spouse know what to do? Say, for instance, if you were to pass away today, do they know what to do? Do they know what your wishes are? Do they know? Do you have insurance? Do they know how to get the insurance? And so, until you can get these things done, get a composition book and just write down these things. Write down all social security numbers, all passwords to email addresses, to ATM, your ATM card number there, and have it where your loved one will be able to get it, where it won't be so difficult. And those of you that have already lost your spouses, please remove their names from the things that is still on there, because if you were to pass away, then not only will your children or your loved ones have to go getting death certificates for everybody that has passed away that is on there, it may stop up your insurance policy because you did not remove that person. And so it doesn't matter how long it's been. It could be, some people are saying, I haven't never said nothing to the bank. The bank don't know. And so it may still be that deceased person's name still on the account. And so that's kind of what happened to my sister-in-law. My sister-in-law still had my brother. But if we don't know, we just don't know. If it wasn't told to her, hey, you know what, you need to remove that person that has passed away, whether it be a parent, whether it be your spouse, whether it be a child that you had as a beneficiary, you want to make sure that you remove the deceased person off of the bank accounts, the 401 accounts, the retirement accounts, because that is going to cause your children to have a hard time trying to, even if it's your mom and you had that person on there and your mom has passed away and you're a couple, you guys are a married couple, and you realize, oh, you know what, my spouse's mom passed away, or my spouse's dad passed away. So check it to make sure, because a lot of times we have our parents as our beneficiaries, and so we never think to change it, right? And so go ahead and get that changed. If you have experienced a divorce here recently, you want to make sure that you go back and change those things, unless you want your ex-spouse to be able to incur those things. Whoever names is on the beneficiary is who will receive the money. So this has happened several times where the couple got married, the spouse had they just was deceased, and then you married into this home, and that the spouse still had the spouse that passed away down as the beneficiary. And you're thinking, okay, I'm married, and hey, everything is supposed to come to me. Well, no. And then when that happens, that spouse that passed away, it's going to go to next of kin. So it won't go to you because you are the current wife or husband. It's going to go to the next of kin. That's where the beneficiary will go to. So it goes down the line of, where you fit in at. And so, say for instance, if you're a guy and you have no children, but you married into a home with your wife, and then your wife passes away, and then you pass away, and the name is in your house, in your name. The house is in your name, and then you end up disinheriting your children because that spouse is going to go to their siblings. So if you go ahead and get it in place, then we won't have to worry about this. So that's the main reason why I get on Sunday after Sunday, is to tell you guys to get it in place so that your loved ones won't be in the midst of grief and hurt and still, spending so much money going through probate. And so, please, if you guys check it, your retirement, all of your things, go back and check it. Just check it to make sure, because I've had some people say, you know what, I went back and checked it, and hey, I had my ex-husband on there, and Lord knows I didn't want him to have my money. And then I've had people that said, you know what, we just got remarried and I never thought about it. And then the ex-spouse is the one that gets the money. And then people are mean. When it comes down to death and money, people are very mean. And so they don't care. And they're going to give the money to the beneficiary. So go back and check it. Make sure that you have beneficiaries on all of your accounts. Anything that has to do with money, make sure that you have a beneficiary on there. And if you have a CD account, CD accounts are separate than bank accounts. So don't just say, you know what, I got a beneficiary on my bank account, but I'm not for sure if I have it on my CD account. Well, if the person was to pass away and it's not on there, then it's a possibility that you're going to probate to receive the things that are in the CD account and the retirement accounts and any accounts that have to do with money. You can find yourself going through that, but especially those investment accounts. I found that my husband had several of them, and no beneficiary. And so I'm still dealing with that 4 years later. So make sure if you have them, teach your loved ones how to invest. Teach your loved ones what you're doing. I'm sure that my husband would not have just kept that a secret from me. It was just something that he was doing. He was preparing for us for retirement, for us to be able to live comfortably. And so we just never had the conversation, although I remember telling him once before, I said, I don't know exactly what you're doing, and so those people going to keep your money. And guess what? That's exactly what's happening, what they're trying to do. And so teach your loved ones how to buy, how to sell, what's going on with the stocks. Don't just have that something that you're doing, because I know it's with the good intentions that you're preparing for later when you retire. But at the same time, when you lose that loved one that had every great intentions on taking care of you, and you did not teach them how to buy and sell and all of that, then they're going to be in a hard place like I am. So I think that is it. Please like, tag, and share the information. I pray that everybody got a chance to hear something that would help you to look into getting things done. Again, I'll say this because it's come back to me again, that if you have married into a family that was established already, to make sure that you have your name on the deed. Go to the county clerk's office and get your name on the deed, and make sure that it says joint tenant with survivalship, and so that you won't have any problems if your loved one finds themselves in probate. But if you go ahead and get the trust done, listen, it's so much easier. You're going to save so much money in order, getting it done. Like I said, I can tell you how to do it yourself. I can tell you, refer you to a lawyer. It is costly. One of the lawyers that I know it's running about 3,000 or so, and one is not as bad. It just depends on how much you have and what you have, but it's important that we go ahead and look into getting those things done. It's important that we look to see about mortgage protection. If you still have a big mortgage, if you can imagine losing your loved one and you can't pay your mortgage. So there are people that I know that are struggling with the spouse may have been the breadwinner, the only income. And so, how are you going to pay your mortgage? God has been good to me again, I'll say, but it has not been easy. Some of you know how difficult it can be with two people in a household, carrying a household. So you want to make sure that you look into getting some mortgage protection. And that way, your mortgage would be protected, or you want to look into getting some insurance, some life insurance. That's a significant amount that will cover your house note if you were to lose one another. And so that is just my advice to you today, and for your adult children and even your non-adult children. It's important that we look into getting life insurance for our children from age 1 month. It's important to have life insurance because we never know when loss may hit our households, and we're completely unprepared to lose a loved one. And so I think that's it. I love you guys. Please like, share, and tag. If you do have all of your things in place and in order, please share the information with other people that may not have it done. Us as a race of people are behind. We're way behind because we feel like sometimes we've always felt like, love you too, Sister Ann. We've always felt like that having a trust is for the rich, and that's the furthest from the truth. And so they tend to have their affairs in order and in place because they know the system. And so that's why I'm sharing with you guys, so that you will be able to, know the system as well. Keep the wealth within the family versus just, having to be faced with probate just because you can't get a loan. And so I love you guys, and please like, share, tag, all of that stuff, all of that good stuff. I pray you guys had a blessed and wonderful Thanksgiving. I had a very quiet Thanksgiving here alone, and but I just the first 4 years I just kind of hit the ground running with, doing Thanksgiving, doing Christmas and stuff. And so this time I just wanted to reflect and have a nice, quiet Thanksgiving. I needed to kind of think about some things and put some things in place. And so that's what I did. But I pray you guys got together and continue to make great memories with one another, because at the end of the day, that's all you're going to have. And so continue to take lots of pictures. I was looking at my Sister Carlotta, and she went to visit her husband at the place where he is right now, and I seen her with her little short dress on and sitting on his lap in his wheelchair, and I said, you go girl. Go girl. That's what I'm talking about, that right there. Continuing to make great memories. I always tell her, hey, climb up in that hospital bed with him and kiss all over him and everything, because when they're gone, you know, they're gone. And so all you have is memories. And so continue to keep building great memories, loving on your loved ones, not taking your loved ones for granted, and because life is very short. It's very, very short. And so no matter how long you've been with that person, it becomes very short when they're no longer here. Even though I was married for 34 years, that was short as he's no longer here. And so I love you guys, and love on one another, be forgiving, and just continue to love on one another. Okay? Love you guys, and I'll see you guys next Sunday if the Lord says the same. Okay, bye-bye.